Hello students, hope you are safe and healthy. Welcome to my channel. Today we will be starting our third chapter of history, that is ruling the countryside or rural life and society. So let's start. It is a very well-known fact that India is primarily an agricultural country as majority of its people depend on agriculture for sustenance. It means that if the crop is good, prosperity prevails, otherwise, it leads to famine and starvation. Till the 18th century, there was a strong relation between agriculture and cottage industries in India. India was not only ahead in the field of agriculture than most other countries, but it also held a prominent place in the world in the field of handicraft production. With the coming of the British, this handicraft industry was destroyed. This resulted in far-reaching changes in the country's agrarian structure with the introduction of new system of land tenures and policies of revenue administration. Now, let's discuss the system of revenue collection introduced by the British, which made it difficult for the farmers to adjust to the new ruthless policy. In the previous chapter, we came to know that after the Battle of Buxar, British East India Company acquired Diwani right over Bengal, Bihar and Odisha by Treaty of Allahabad in 1965. Let me tell you what is Diwan or Diwani right. It is a financial administrative power given to British East India Company. Diwani were the right granted to British East India Company to collect revenues and decide the civil cases of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. Now, the company had become the Diwan, but it still saw itself primarily as a trader. It wanted a large revenue income but was unwilling to set up any regular system of assessment and collection. The effort was to increase the revenue as much as it could and buy fine cotton and silk cloth as cheaply as possible. Within 5 years, the value of goods brought by the company in Bengal doubled. Before 1865, the company had purchased goods in India by importing gold and silver from Britain. Now, the revenue collection in Bengal could finance the purchase of goods for export. Soon it was clear that the Bengal economy was facing a deep crisis. Artisans were deserting villages since they were being forced to sell their goods to the company at low price. Peasants were unable to pay the dues that were being demanded from them. Artisanal production was in decline, and agricultural cultivation showed sign of collapse. Then, in 1770, a terrible famine killed 10 million people in Bengal. About one-third of the population was wiped out. After the crisis of 1770, most company officials began to feel that investment in land had to be encouraged and agriculture had to be improved, as agriculture was the basis of the economy and the main source of income. The company principally adopted three types of revenue collection. These three types of revenue systems were Zamindari system or permanent settlement, Raitwari system or settlement, Mahalwari system. Although native officials were in charge of the collection, it was the company officials who supervised the process of collection. The British also realized that the countryside could not only yield revenue but could also grow crops that Europe required. So, towards the end of the 18th century, the company was trying its best to expand the cultivation of opium and indigo. In the century and a half that followed, the British forced cultivators in various parts of India to produce other crops, such as jute in Bengal, tea in Assam, sugarcane in the United Province, now Uttar Pradesh, wheat in Punjab, cotton in Maharashtra and Punjab, and rice in Madras. Now, let's discuss the three types of revenue system in detail. First is the Zamindari or permanent settlement system. Lord Cornwallis' most conspicuous administrative measure was the permanent land revenue settlement of Bengal, which was extended to the province of Bihar and Odisha. Cornwallis, at the time of his appointment as the Governor General, was instructed by the Board of Directors of the company to find a satisfactory and permanent solution for collecting land revenue in order to protect the interest of both the company and the cultivators. So, Cornwallis made a thorough inquiry into the usage, tenure, and rent prevalent in Bengal. It took him about 3 years to find a solution. The answer was to abolish the annual lease system and introduce a decennial 10-year settlement, which was subsequently declared to be continuous. Now, let's see some of the main features of permanent settlement. The zamindars of Bengal were recognized as the owners of the land as long as they paid the revenue to the East India Company regularly. The amount of revenue that the zamindars had to pay to the company was firmly fixed and would not be raised under any circumstances. The ryots became tenants since they were considered the tillers of the soil. This settlement took away the administrative and judicial functions of the zamindars. Now, let me tell you some of the effects of the permanent settlement. Cultivable areas increase as many wasteland was brought under cultivation. If the peasant failed to pay the revenue, the lands were taken away, so it created landless peasant. It created a new class of loyalties for the British in the zamindars. The British needed their support, but this system benefited the zamindars more than the British because arable land increased but the rent they had to pay remained fixed. This system affected some zamindars who could not make the payment. When they failed to pay, their property was seized and sold. This led to their ruin. Most of the rich zamindars left the rent collection to agents as they were settled in town. This agent exacted all kinds of illegal taxes beside the legal ones from the ryots. This resulted in a great deal of misery among the peasants and farmers. During the Mughal period, a share of the crops was fixed as land tax, but the cultivators enjoyed independence and was self-sufficient. Through this system, the cultivators lost their independence and self-sufficiency. Nevertheless, this system proved to be a great boon to the zamindars and to the government of Bengal. It formed a regular income and stabilized the government of the company. The zamindars prospered at the cost of the welfare of the tenant. Now, let's move to the second revenue system, that is, Raitwari settlement. The Raitwari settlement was introduced in the year 1820, mainly in Madras, Berar, Bombay, and Assam. Sir Thomas Munro introduced this system in the Madras Presidency. Under this settlement, the peasant was recognized as the proprietor of the land. There was no intermediary like a zamindar between the peasant and the government. So long as the revenue was paid on time, the peasant was not evicted from the land. Besides, the land revenue was fixed for a period from 20 to 40 years at a time. During this period, the peasant was held personally responsible for direct payment of land revenue to the government. However, in the end, this system also failed. Under this settlement, it was certainly not possible to collect revenue in a systematic manner. The revenue officials indulged in harsh measures for non-payment or delayed payment. That's all for today. We shall continue this chapter in the next video. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.